what inspired you guys to choose a career in the civil services, like despite the other options available for KGPN? So, Neha, can we start begin with you?
Yes, sure. So for me, actually, like see, as we are all graduates of IIT Kharagpur, we know that there are myriad opportunities available for us. I can share my personal experience. Like I remember in the final semester, I already got a PPO from Adobe because I had done my internship in 2017. So I was involved in this world of AI and machine learning because that's a budding world, and almost everybody does that nowadays. Right? And then I was that when gradually when my final year approached, I was gradually interested into. I started exploring what are the other options available. I saw that some of my friends are doing finance. They are looking up to MBA or degree. Some of them are looking into PhDs from foreign universities. So I also try to emulate them, and I try to like one day maybe I got very inspired by doing like that. I decided that I'll get GRE. Then the next moment I said, no, 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 let's try for CAT. No, 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 let's try for some corporate job. So this way I was exploring here and there, here and there. So this confusing phase of my life went on, I think, from the month of around July 2017 to December to January 2018. But then gradually, every field that I was choosing, I found out that the main motivation behind them was because my friends were doing them. But my friends were doing them because they were motivated in that. But I was doing them just to have, that kind of social acceptance that I am doing something which other people have done and which other people have accepted as good career options. But that X factor was not coming. And by the method of elimination, what was left was the civil services. But before that, I never planned out that I will be giving civil services as such. But then gradually, I set my eyes upon the engineering services. And the engineering services, incidentally, they also, because I was always comfortable with core electrical engineering in my subject. So in the engineering services, there is a paper called GS1, General Studies 1. I gradually started studying it. When I started studying, I found out that that's very interesting. It's all about general science, it's history, geography, political science, social science, little current affairs, newspaper. And gradually I studied and I got interested. I got interested both by the procedure as well as the impact. Like the procedure, I thought that I would enjoy because I enjoyed reading about current affairs and so many things are going around in society and all. And the impact is, of course, that too motivated me. I watched some YouTube videos that what is the how dynamic is the role and the job of an IS officer, and that gradually it motivated. Like positive, there's like what happened with me was that it was not that I had made a direct plan and that was something that we had to achieve. But gradually I started taking small steps and bit by bit, brick by brick, it got developed. That was motivation and inspiration.
Shivashi?
All right.
My inspiration was basically from two sources. First of all, my brother is an IS of 2016 batch. So I had seen him work in Nasik and in Sindhudurg in Maharashtra. And that is something that attracted me a lot towards the option. And secondly, my Deutsche Bank internship of 2 months, it taught me that although I enjoyed the work for 2 months, I could not possibly enjoy the work for 35 years. So that was one option. And finally, it was, of course, I was very interested in the entire procedure. As Neha said, I think once you start, you get interested in it because the syllabus is, yes, it is vast, but it is interesting as well. So that is something I focused on. And I think hopefully all the three things clicked and I got through. So yeah, that was the inspiration behind civil services.
Nishant?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're on.
Yeah. So both the panelists have hit the nail right on the head. There are two, basically, it's the problem set that you choose. So you have a career and you choose to solve certain problems. Now, if you are planning to join civil services, you choose to solve problems of the society in whatever service you are in. So there are its challenges, there are its opportunities. And for me personally, I have worked in analytics for 1 year. I realized that that was not exactly what I wanted to do. And of course, I had some interest in humanities. So I thought maybe why not give it a shot? So that's it. It was quite simple for me.
Rahul?
Rahul, you're
I
not
guess
audible.
we can't hear you, Rahul. Yeah. We are not able to hear you, Rahul. Just a second. Sorry to interrupt, Rahul. We can't hear you. In the meantime, could you look after the issue? We can have Puneet discuss about the same in the meantime.
Hey, hi.
Yeah. Hi, Puneet.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Hello?
Puneet, you're audible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So my motivation for civil services is very similar to
Puneet, your voice is breaking. Like it's not audible properly.
Yeah. Puneet, we are not able to hear you.
Am I audible now? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, yes.
the
Yeah.
stories like
Yes,
that
Rahul.
which I've already told. So like after working for around an year or so, I mean around 9 to 12.
Rahul.
Hello, should I take? Hello.
Hey, Rahul, continue.
Prakhar,
Hello?
can you please repeat?
Yes,
Hello.
yes.
Hey, Rahul. Rahul.
So Rahul, would you
you're
like to add
audible?
anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I belong from a
Glad-
place called Kalahandi, which is one of
Yeah.
the most backward district in India. And we always talk about impact. There is an impact we want to create when we want to work for a company, or we want to work for an NGO, or we want to work in a business of our own. But what moved me was that being from such a backward place, I was getting admission into the top institution of the country. That too with the system which made it possible that a person from that background can rise to the top. So the factor was I want to be part of that system which is making things possible, as well as at the same time improvise it, because I thought there was some issues with it. So that was the inspiration for me, that I want to be a part of that system which is making people lives easier, making real impact.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we
Could we
the
move to the next
question?
question?
Yeah, so actually this is a very common query which we also received from a KGP fraternity. Like, what is the right time to start preparation for UPSC? Like, you guys being very diverse in your preparation methods. So like, can you share your experience? Like, at what time did you guys start preparing for the UPSC? And after clearing the exam and going through all the process, like, what ideal time do you guys recommend to any KGPN? Like, when he or she shall start preparing for the UPSC? Nishant, can we start from you?
Yeah. So I think I'm getting the opportunity being the senior most here. So for me, exactly what happened was I started after I left the job, but I'll suggest that people should start as early as possible. I mean, there's no starting time or beginning time. You can develop your interest. There are diverse fields. There's history, geography, politics. There is your own subject. So I mean, and the whole idea is to have a childlike curiosity. You should be curious about what is happening around you. Why is it happening? What is the historical significance? How it pans out in the entire context of our world and our country, of course. And as simply put, there is no fixed algorithm or no fixed timelines. Sometimes I have seen that in prelims I have marked a question right, which I remember from my class 10th, or I remember from my class 7th. So there is no fixed timeline of starting it. It's a process which is of making. I mean, you have to, and as early as possible you can start. If you don't have time with academics, you can read books on history, you can read books on geography. And once you are in the group, in the grind of UPSC, then full-fledged you should go for it. I think that is what my take is on when you should start. It should be as early as possible if you are interested.
Cool.
Yeah.
Rahul,
Thank you.
I did my internship in HUL in 2017, and during my third year, just the whole year, I researched about what is UPSC. I never touched any book, but I just went through videos on online platforms that what does the UPSC wants, or what kind of mindsets should we have. So that gave me an insight that okay, what is UPSC, what it wants, how am I suited to it, and that was enough for me to know that okay, if I gave it 1 year full preparation, I did not wanted any coaching, I would be at a very good position to clear it. The second thing is, a lot of people have asked me, I'm adding this question, that should we balance it with college or not, like during college. My take would be, do it till the time your graduation is secured. Like, don't do it at the altar of your CGPA. You would have a CGPA of 6, but you are doing preparation for UPSC, that shows very poorly on you, because you are not doing your job first. First, complete your graduation. If you are getting extra time, if you are getting interested, read on the sidelines. But a proper preparation, I think, can only start just after graduation. You can start. There is no issue. But be sure about it.
good to know the insight. Puneet, would you like to add something?
Please, you are
Puneet, am
on mute.
I audible
Yeah.
to you?
Puneet is put on mute. Could you please unmute yourself and yeah. Puneet, are you able to hear us? I guess he's not able to hear us. Neha, would you like to add anything?
Yes, yeah, sure. So, yes, I think very important points have been pointed out by Nishant and Rahul, that there is no one-stop, no one-size-fits-all answer to this. Whenever you have that motivation within you that I have to do this, that is the right time to start, because that motivation, if you discover the why behind it, that why you want to do it, if you are very clear on that, then I think it will sustain you, then you'll be able to sustain yourself for the long journey. So, go for that when you discover that why. And secondly, I can share my experience that when I was in college, after getting into IB, I did not have any plans for myself as such. So, I used to just enjoy the lectures. I was an attentive student in college. So I used to enjoy my electrical engineering lectures and all. That came as a kind of a blessing in disguise for me, because my optional was also electrical engineering later on. So yes, my advice will be also that before 21 years anyway you cannot give. Before completing your BTech, the bachelor's degree anyway you cannot give. Now the question whether to do it right from your college or not, I would also suggest that college is it adds immensely to your personality. Firstly, your CGPA matters, right? Secondly, how you explore things in college. Especially in IIT, you have so many opportunities. You have business, you have entrepreneurship, and these are all very prominent careers. UPSC, nobody is saying that UPSC is the only good thing to do. So find out whether you have some better things out there, and college is the grounding opportunity for you to find that out. So don't waste your golden years on studying some books and preparing. That is my personal suggestion. You can anyway do that if you want. Otherwise, when I decided that, okay, other options are there, but this is more prominent. When I had that kind of clarity in me, that is the time that I started. That is around the final semester of my college, around March, April 2018. For many people, they join job, they do 2 to 3 years of job. Then they learn that, okay, job is not the right place for me, corporate is not the right place. Some people also go for master's, higher studies, then also they come back. So, lot of diversity is there. There is no correct time. Only thing is that the direction and motivation should be correct when you get that. That is from me.
Shivashish, your views on the same?
Yeah, I totally agree with Nishant. There is no algorithm, there is no set timeline for this. What I would like to personally add is, I think 10 years ago, I think all of the panelists dreamt of getting into an IIT. And what would not be the smart thing to do would be to waste this opportunity for another dream, I think. So getting into IIT Kharagpur is also a dream. The opportunities you get there, they cannot be discounted at any stage. Social and cultural, games, academics, everything is out there. So my belief is try to make the most of all those opportunities that are presented to you, be it academics, occult, games, arts, everything. And once you feel and once you have the right kind of motivation, and it is important that you have the motivation rather than your roommate having the motivation, thus it being more of an induced effect. So once you feel you have the right kind of motivation, and once you feel you have made the best of the opportunities at IIT KGP, then I think it is the right time. But that depends on you. No one size fits all approach, as Neha said, I think.
Sure. I think Puneet is not here. So like, for the time being, can we switch to the next question? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys already mentioned like we should explore our campus life well, and that's a very good advice for all the KGPians. But like, what is the relevance of CG, PORs in which you hold in campus, the internship and the projects? Like, what is its impact? And like one of the KGP student asked us like in the form itself that how does it affect in that detailed application form? I agree that this is a thing which should not be considered right now, but still, like, what is the relative weightage of all these campus-related curricular and extracurricular and co-curricular things which we have to do during our 4 or 5 years of college? Rahul, if you want to start like on the same.
I will cite one incident. Kumar Shivashis was my senior at Branding and Relations Cell, and we started Young Innovators program in 2017, and I wrote that in my detailed application form that I was part of the team, and that was the first question in my interview, the UPSC interview. So I think you can gauge the importance they attach to our extracurricular activities. The second thing is CGPA matters because, as I said earlier, having a good CGPA reflects very strongly on your side that you are not going for UPSC as a backup option. You're taking it as a matter of choice. You had some options in college with like good placements, but you're taking it as a matter of choice. You want to go for UPSC. PORs matter because they're part of overall personality development. Because see, the kind of leadership qualities UPSC wants, IIT Kharagpur gives a small, in my view, a small, I would say, idea of what is going to come. We are in teams, we take leadership positions, we conduct events, we manage finances, we manage people. So those are the kind of things actually shape us, how we treat with people, how we interact with people. And those are in somehow subtle ways reflected during your personality, in your thought processes. So overall, campus life is very important and it should not be discounted at all. As Shivasa said, these things are what we dreamt of at some point of time, and we should not leave those dreams because of some other dream we are going to pursue, not at that point of time.
Okay, Nishant.
Yeah, so I mean, see, relevance of PG's POR project internship in the selection process. So if you contextualize it in the selection process, these things will very objectively come only during the interview stage, very objectively. But again, as Rahul has pointed out, your CGPA matters because it shows that you are serious about your academics. So CGPA is the first focus during IIT KGP. I think every student should focus on CGPAs. PORs, yes, I was with Springfest. I have worked in Springfest for 3 years as member. Then I was a head as com. But I mean, I have got questions on it, but mostly even those questions are very contextual and they'll link it to something else. It won't be like they'll be impressed by your POR. If you have a POR, you should be able to, you should have worked on it and you should be able to have a full grasp of all the things that flow out and in to your POR. So say if somebody was a part of student welfare group, so you should know that what all are the happenings in KGP. If there are issues which were earlier, because ragging was one of the issues that were being addressed during my time. So what are the laws? What are the laws of those times? So very objectively speaking, in the process, it will come only at interviews. But because your POR and your internships, your project, CGPA, everything make who you are, and this exam will finally test who you are. So I believe all of them are quite important. Objectively, only at the interview stage. This is my take.
Yeah, Neha. Neha, are you able to hear us? Am I audible, Neha?
Yes, I think the problem is with my internet connection. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes. Hello?
I guess,
Hello?
you're audible now, Neha. You can continue.
Yes. So the answer to this question is that, let's see, technically speaking, there is no relevance of this in the selection procedure. If I concentrate it from a technical point of view, there is no relevance because you have to clear prelims, mains, and for interview you do have to fill a form. But whatever you fill, the interview will be molded according to that, or maybe they'll ask some other questions. So the thing is that if you have a poor CG, you have to justify why you had a poor CG, and if you are able to justify that smartly, then I don't think that will be a barrier in your selection. Okay? Similarly, if you have a POR, let's say a position of responsibility, वो होता है ना, मतलब जैसे हम करते हैं कभी-कभी, like we do it in college, that like I'm sharing this very frankly, like sometimes seniors say that take this POR, take that POR, join this society, join that society. So I'm saying this as a member of the KGP fraternity. So don't run after all. I mean, my personal advice would be that don't show PORs on your detailed application form on your tab. Don't show those kind of PORs which you just got just for the sake of getting. मतलब ये किसी सोसाइटी में 2 हफ्ते सीनियर के अंदर काम कर दिया, लिख दिया, ऐसे करोगे तो फंसोगे. Why? Because they will ask, like for example, if you are writing that I was a group leader in some NSS camp, and suppose you were not a group leader, you just wrote it because वो verify तो करते नहीं है. Anyway, they don't verify. So then they'll ask you that, okay, you conducted blood donation camps in this. Tell me, while doing blood donation camps, how would you arrange the blood group bottles? So thing is that they will grill you in this. So if you be very truthful, like these things, they matter, they do not matter. See, anyway, nobody can deny that they are an integral part of your personality. CGPA, POR, project, internships, everything adds a lot to your personality. Right? If somebody is saying that I will leave everything aside, I will not, dwell into my college life and only do UPSC, then I would say that rethink that, because you are missing these beautiful experiences of your college life. You will make mistakes. You will run after faltu PORs. Then you will, say that why did I go do this? These things will happen. Rectify yourself. This is the procedure. Anyway, you should do that. But strictly speaking, it does not have any relevance in your selection procedure. Okay, whatever you write, you need to justify, because see, even if you have a high CGPA, that can be like a double-edged sword. They will ask you very technical questions. Like let's say if you're writing I had a CGPA of more than 9, then they'll say that okay, अच्छा इसमें सच में इसका CGPA इतना अच्छा, देखते इसका concept कैसे clear है. So they'll actually grill you on that. So everything is both an opportunity as well as a danger for you. So it's relative.
Okay, just a follow-up question, since many people had this doubt. So what should be the ideal CGPA range that we should try to maintain?
There is no ideal CGPA range. Like I know people who are qualifying this exam with 9.3. If you look with above 9 CGPA. I know also, like almost every one of us knows of Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, who was I think the topper in 2013. So he had a dissatisfactory CGPA in his college. But then he justified that okay, he made mistakes in his college life, and he told them properly, right? So there is no ideal CGPA. You can have a CGPA of 5, 6, not 5, 6, but 6, 7, anything you can have. But that does not mean that you will be complacent about it. That shows a weakness in your personality. The thing is that whatever is past is past. You can't change it, right? So so if somebody has 7 CGPA, do not think that I won't sit for UPSC because I have 7 CGPA. No, if you have 7 CGPA but you are very motivated for UPSC, go ahead and do that and justify that in front of the interview. That why did you have a bad and how do you rectify yourself? That adds to your personality.
Okay, Shivashish, have you already added, or would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think 2 things I'd like to add. First of all, I mean, if you have a good CGPA and PORs and internships, it is a plus. It helps in personality development. It also helps in the personality test. It helped me many times. I mean, in many of the mocks, it was remarked that I have a very good academic record, that I've taken many leadership positions. So that definitely helps. But what I feel is extremely important is that many people in KGP who are pursuing this, they might be lacking in some of these aspects. And what I want to say is that, as has been said already, if you can justify it and if you are motivated enough for this exam, I mean, your CGPA reflects the interest you have in your department, in your subjects. They might be entirely, I'm pretty sure they will be entirely different to the syllabus that will be covered for UPSC. So it is a clean slate altogether. It is a new opportunity for you. So even if, for instance, if somebody in the 4th year is listening to me and he or she lacks any of these, and if they are having an underconfident phase that maybe I'm not ready for this with my CGP or with the lack of PORs, that is not true. I'd just like to cite a personal example. My brother was in civil and his CGPA was, I think, 7.1. He had no PORs. I know how badly he did in internships, but he still got all-India rank 35 in 2016. So I feel either way, it is not very relevant. If you can, it is a double-edged sword again. If you can justify it, well and good. If you can't justify it, of course, it's a problem. And even if you have too much of these in your TAF, and if you cannot justify it, it's a huge problem. Because yes, again, I mean, the one thing I'm pretty sure about is don't lie about any of these things in your TAF. I mean, just write it down, just mug it up. Don't lie about it, please. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Shivashish. Can we move to the next question? Yeah, so that is the most important question that people are looking forward to have the answer. So what is, I know that most of you have already written your blogs about the detailed UPSC preparation strategy, but could you please just throw some light, just a brief light on how did you actually go through, what was the procedure that you followed, and did you take any coaching classes? Is it preferable to take the coaching? What was did you prepare it yourself or not? So Nishant, can we start from you?
Yeah, so I think that this question should be first answered by Neha, because she is the topper among us. So I like Neha to do the honors, please.
Yeah.
And even we make notes about it. Yes.
please.
Okay. So see, I'll answer this question in parts. So firstly, coaching institutes or not. So this I was very clear about, because based on my mode of studying, I was not comfortable with being enrolled in any coaching institute, even when I was doing IIT JEE also. So I was very clear that directly I won't enroll in any coaching institute. Okay, and now this question whether you should take coaching or not, this is again very relative. Some of us has this tendency that their efficiency increases if they join any coaching institute under a guided discipline program. If that is the case, then do not hesitate for taking coaching. So all the 4 permutation combinations, like there are people who do this with coaching, there are people who cannot do this with coaching, there are people who do not do this without taking any coaching, there are people who do not do this with taking coaching. So all these are possible, right? Next, the strategy and resources. I have written my blog on this. I'll share it briefly here that firstly, everybody knows the standard books and everything, like Lakshmikant for Quality and all these everybody knows. So there is no point in repeating them. I found a lot of help in online sources, because I was also working from July 2018. So a lot of online websites like Mrinal Sir's website, some of the daily current affairs posted by some of the websites. These are all free initiatives. You don't have to pay for them. Then a lot of YouTube videos, lot of YouTube channels for current affairs. If you are, let's say you are reading the newspaper and you are not understanding any current affairs, just search that topic with UPSC tag in YouTube and you will get a lot of links to a lot of videos. And so these online sources, yes, it was a major part in my preparation strategy, apart from some books like Lakshmikant and all. Then NCERTs are obviously, I would say they are important because they give you the base of many things. It is, they are written in a very lucid language. But there also I used to read it for one time, make short notes and then revise only the notes. Okay, not like, and only from the PDFs. And one more thing is that this was more or less about my preparation and resources. And then for prelim specific, we have to do test series. I mean, we have to do a lot of question solving, MCQ solving. For mains, we have to do a little bit of answer writing practice, right? This nowadays everybody knows. And as for the optional, that again depends from person to person. If you're comfortable with engineering, like for aspirants in KGP, go with that. If you're not, then you can go humanities optional also. Okay, that also depends from person to person. Overall, the strategy was here that like I had a phase-wise approach. So overall, if I say the broad philosophy behind my preparation, like first phase, it was just getting introduced to the exam. In the second phase, I started doing the basic foundation blocks. Like those were those type of sources which I was sure that if I don't do these sources, then I'm not getting selected. If this kind of clarity is there, then do those sources first. Then in the phase 3, I try to revise and add some important extra points, because see, nowadays if anybody is telling you that just by reading NCERTs and basic books you can clear the exam, then that is a misguidance, because you have to have something extra, some USP of your own when you write answers. So that you have to find it out on your own. So do that in the phase 3, whatever extra add-ons you can give, and then finally prelim specific and then main specific for that. Yeah. So this was my overall strategy.
Thank you, Neha. Nishant, can we come back to you?
Yeah, so I think Neha has very, very elaborately and briefly both told us about, because you see, it cannot be brief. This preparation is divided into multiple phases. If I speak about people who are right now in KGP, and if I go back and think about it, see, coaching, because we are all from a technical background. We have done our maths and science in 11th, 12th. Then we are in IITs. We are doing our different streams. We are working on it. So there, as Neha has rightly pointed out, there are people who have done it with coaching, without coaching. What I personally feel is, if you are comfortable with the subject, if you can understand, if you have an understanding of what is going on in the NCERTs and the basic books, I believe coaching is not necessary. But if in case you feel like you don't have time and you're not able to understand, then maybe you can take it. It's a personal choice finally. And again, there are different modes right now. See, when I started preparing, there was the online course was not very prominent. It was back in 2014 when I started. So then we used to have in-house coaching, but now with COVID, I mean, since our classes are also going on online, so I believe everybody is shifting to this phase, and it is quite efficient because you can record things, you can skip, you can pass, you can slow down, and as Neha has very rightly pointed out, that you see, if there's what does the exam look at? It finally wants you to have a clarity on the concepts. So if you, whatever way you believe you'll have clarity on the concepts, if you're not understanding it by reading in the newspapers, in the books, go to YouTube. If you're not understanding it by reading in YouTube, listening, looking at the videos, go to a teacher. If you cannot be disciplined and you tend to waste time, go join a test series and go and give your test, because you'll get bad marks, and then you'll realize, see, it's much better that I better start studying, because different people have different tendencies. Some of us are disciplined intrinsically, some of us are not. So finally you have to know who you are and what works for you. And for people in KGP, I believe, see, if you are getting an understanding of what the basic books are, you should first start with basic books, try to get a when of the basics. And if you're understanding it, then I believe there's no need of coaching. If you are having trouble in it, maybe you can consider coaching. You can consider online, offline, whatever works for you. With COVID, I think online is the only option right now. So that question gets answered in itself. Apart from this, I believe the resources are very standard. Everybody knows them. Insight, Vision IAS, IAS Baba, Forum IAS. And these are the websites. There's Rajya Sabha TV, which I have followed very closely since the starting of my preparation, because I really like the debates that go on there. Yeah, so that is all. I believe coaching may act as a bridge course, number one. Number two, it all depends on who you are. If you are disciplined, if you're dedicated, if you're hardworking, if you understand, no need of coaching, no need of test series. If you can't do that, go get a coaching, go get a test series.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah, Rahul?
Yeah, so for me, the criteria to decide coaching was that I read the syllabus. And as I said, for 1 year, I tried to make up my mind about what I was needed to do. And when I realized that, okay, I can do this in a brief timeline. So I was like, okay, I don't need to take coachings, but I did take test series from the markets as well as from the coaching, so that I can make my preparation more robust. Otherwise, apart from that, I relied mostly on offline sources, not more on online. But there are limited online sources. The first one was I used to read e-newspapers, not the papers which helped me for notes making. And yeah, more or less it was limited to that only. Otherwise, I relied on the standard textbooks. That was my mainstay. For coaching, I would say, see, the thing that becomes for optional, it might become necessary for some people. Okay, I'm a mechanical engineer graduate, so the optional which I took, maths, it had a lot of overlap. So taking for some subjects the coaching was not a good idea, I thought. Okay, so what I did was I prepared the topics which I knew very first of all in a earlier. Then I devoted more time to the topics I don't know. So it again comes down to every aspirant about how he thinks he wants to tackle it. And apart from that, Neha and Nishant has anyway shared enough light so that I don't need to say anything more.
Okay, thank you, Rahul. I guess many of the points are covered. So, would you like to add anything to this, Shivashish?
Yeah, I think most of it is covered. I just wanted to point out 3 red flags for the aspirants. First is there is this perception, I believe, that I will give the test once I'm done with the preparation. कि यार एक बार पढ़ तो लूँ फिर सारे टेस्ट दे दूंगा. I'll tell you, I've cleared the exam, and I'm pretty sure all the other panelists who have cleared this exam, they have not studied everything. None of us has studied everything. There are of course lacunas in all of our preparation, but that should not be a factor why you should not answer test. I mean, of course, this is my personal belief. Second is there is this infatuation with your scores in mock tests or your mock interviews or your mains test series. You need to get rid of that. Of course, a good score is motivating, a bad score is driving. I mean, that is how it should be. And but what you need to focus on is not the test, more on the analysis of the paper. Which part are you messing up? Which type of questions in mains are you not writing very well? And finally, of course, I mean, I think Vinay sir in Insights ISC told me this line, and I always repeat it to everybody who asks. The shortcut in UPSC is often the wrong cut. So if you feel, as Neha said, ki just study NCRTs, you'll get through, you won't get through. So you need to understand that. And yeah, just these 3 red flags. Others, I feel it was very elaborately mentioned by the other panelists.
Okay, thank you, Shivashish. Can we move to the next question? Yeah, so this was also one of the major questions. So people had this doubt, like besides studying, what kind of routine should we try to adopt? Should we, have some sort of meditation, or should we have some designated amount of time for each kind of, the subjects? So what is your exact non-academic routine that you would like to throw the light upon? Rahul, can we start from you?
Yeah. So I have a hobby of teaching, and when I used to come back to my hometown, I used to teach. But other than that, when I was preparing, trust me, none of the other panelists would also refute to it. In my view, when it's 1 month before the exam, you don't even get time. You don't even get proper sleep. Keep aside anything you want to do. But apart from that, when it's 2 months to exam, you should practice meditation if it's possible. I didn't do it, and I felt that I should. I'll be starting in some days. So apart from that, reading some books or making a small hobby, like I know Shivashi's hobby is of reading books. He used to read books. So that kind of, I adopted from him that hobby, and it helps. It helps to keep the mind active. So there is another world apart from UPSC, and that helps to stay calm. It doesn't seem like end of the world. So that would be enough, I think, in my view.
Okay, Shivashish?
Yeah, so what I feel the non-academic routine we are discussing is, again, it depends on person to person. I like reading books, and after speaking to Rahul, I realized even he likes reading books. But don't read books if you don't enjoy them. I mean, because UPSC, the preparation for UPSC is hard enough. It is something that is taxing on your mind. So go for something that relaxes you. I mean, I liked reading, but I love watching TV series more. So I believe in the past 1 year I've watched, most of the TV series that have come on Netflix or Hotstar. And again, if you, of course, meditation is something that you could try to do, but if it does not relax you, if it does not help you, if it is just another stress factor which becomes like a duty rather than a hobby, skip it. I mean, your focus should be on cutting yourself some slack. Give yourself an easy time when you're not studying. 1 month before the exam, you'll not be able to give yourself any time at all. But before that, if you like playing football, play football. I watched all of Barcelona matches because I'm a fan of Barcelona. Not anymore, but yeah, I used to be a fan. So,
Yeah.
but that is what your focus needs to be. It is a hobby. As long as you're enjoying it, do it. The preparation will ensure that you won't be able to do it much. But again, don't do anything that others say which you might not enjoy. Reading books or meditation or anything of the sort. Do something that relaxes you. Watch TV series. I mean, there are no hard and fast rules. Just relax yourself. Cut yourself some slack.
Okay. Neha?
Yes, mine, like very well pointed out by both Rahul and Shivashish only that, yeah, I mean, this depends from person to person, and it should not be like a duty that I have to give time to my hobby also. Apart from like these kind of questions should not come in. When will I give time to my hobby? If you are giving time for your preparation, that is more than enough, right? So I do that. And apart from that, like there are some personal changes which will come in your routine, which came to me also. Like I don't know why, but I got gradually isolated from my group of friends in college, or I was also working in an office, and I also got currently virtually isolated from my office colleagues and all those social gatherings and all, because you would like to focus on yourself. Okay, you know what you are doing in your life, and maybe the people around you, they don't know what you're doing in your life. What this exam means to you may not mean the same thing to the other persons. So you must have that strength of mind. You must, like in office, I remember that I was not performing that well in my office when I was preparing. And nobody knew that I am preparing. But I was seeing other people that they are doing very well in their corporate life and all. So, but like at that point of time, you must have the strength of mind that what I'm doing is what I'm doing. Okay, I will learn something out of the process, and I should not get, like this happens to us a lot in college. Like we are very much influenced by what peers do, what others do, right? But when we get out of it, we understand the importance of I can share my experience, like the importance when we find your interest. Like many seniors say to us, find your interest. But I never found out the importance of that until and unless I was in the UPSC journey. It is so important that we find out our own interest, that why we want to do something, why not some other thing, and why what other people are doing or not, what other people are achieving or not achieving, that should not be any demotivating factor in our lives. So as long as that is fine, just go ahead, and whether you pursue a hobby or not, that depends on you. They don't take it as a very taxing exercise. Keep your priorities straight. Your priority is to clear prelims, mains, right? That is your priority. Apart from that, whatever is there, like there are some bare minimum duties which we cannot escape from life, like maybe our financial responsibilities, our family responsibilities, right? Apart from that, as much as possible, try to mellow down all other social gatherings and friends, and that's my personal opinion, like social media and all. I switched off Facebook, Instagram and all these things for 8 months, right? That depends on you. There is no advice here, but that's my own experience. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Neha. Finally, Nishant.
So I think all three of the panelists have very, very rightly pointed out what is to be done, what is not to be done. But if I focus on the question, see what does the non-academic routine entail? See, UPSC preparation itself is quite stressful. You'll be stressed out. It's very uncertain. You don't know. It's like a game of wo सांप सीढ़ी खेलते हैं ना, that the game. So it's like that. You can qualify prelims, you can fail prelims, you can qualify mains, and it's a 1.5 year long process. So personally speaking, I believe that one should have at least one routine which helps one unwind and relax. It's a very personal choice. There have been toppers who have liked running. There have been toppers who have liked reading. Shivashish has a hobby of reading. Rahul has again said that he likes reading. So it depends on the individual. If you like reading, you can read. If you like running, you can run. If social gatherings, again, as Neha rightly pointed out, I believe that a certain degree of isolation is required because you have a very limited bandwidth in your mental space which you can allocate to different people. So just make sure that you are mentally stable and you're calm, and you have some time out of your daily life where you can be yourself. I like running, I like reading. So I used to pick up running for half an hour every day. That is what I personally did. Sometimes I used to read if there's time. Of course, 1 month before the exam, as everybody has pointed out, you won't have time. Even then, you can take out 15 minutes. You can go out for a walk, take a tea break, and come back. There's nothing. See, in the end, you're all human. We need our time and our own hobbies, and we need to relax. and it's just a process and it's just a exam. That is all it is. So that is my take on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant. Can we move to the next question? Yeah, so Adarsh is back. You can ask. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. So, this is a very common question, like which we gained from the audience. Like, should we skip the placements and focus only on UPSC, like right after the college, or shall we take part in that placement process? We secure a job through campus placements and then go for the UPSC preparation thing. Like, your take on it, like starting from Shivashish, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, should one skip the placements? It is a matter of personal choice. I went through the internship process. I got the PPO, and once I was relaxed about it, I started focusing on a bit on the preparation. We have Neha who was working along with it. So, and I am pretty sure that it depends from person to person. Again, if you want to sit for placements, if you want to try the elimination approach, which is honestly one of the most sensible approaches that you'll have, you can work for maybe some time and realize this is not for me. Let me move on to something else, or let me start UPSC preparation. So if you feel you want to explore the avenues, then I'd just suggest go for it. I mean, life is too short to have any regrets, and the number of attempts are too large to, sacrifice your passion or your dreams at the altar. So my advice would be, if you're interested in going for placements, if you feel that you have built a decent enough CV, a good CGPA to give a shot at the placements process, please go for it. But if you feel ki, nahin, I'm pretty sure and I'm pretty motivated about this process, I want to clear UPSC, then it's up to you. But again, this motivation should not come at the cost of the opportunities that Kharagpur has to offer. Sitting in internships, the disappointments and the success and the feeling of success are also very integral to this KGP journey. So yeah, I'd advise, at least go for it. If you don't want to, then go ahead. We just start with the preparation and everything. But yeah, my personal choice would be to explore all the opportunities that KGP has to offer, because this too is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I think all the panelists will agree that the 5 or 4 years at Kharagpur they were one of the best and most opportunistic time periods of our life. So I believe since you are living the dream currently, make the most of it.
Good to hear. Rahul, in case you want to provide any insight, like you actually just after the graduation switched for a fully fledged attempt. So, like, your take on the same. Rahul, you are muted, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'll tell about my experience in HUL. I worked for 2 months in Mumbai and I was quite impressed by HUL. It is said that it is one of the best corporates available for mechanical engineers in the core field. But what I realized was that, okay, so the corporate field was something open for me. I knew that if I'm a graduate from IIT, I can get a job via any networks or online portal applications quite easily as compared to any other graduate. So I kept that backup option in my mind. The second thing is, we aspire to become IITian with some goal in our mind. We aspire for a job. That is what is in our mind when we are preparing for IIT. And a lot of people, because in IIT provides equal opportunity, as I've said earlier, are not from so good financial background. So what I did was, for that case, I talked with my father that Papa, ye karna chahiye kya nahi karna chahiye. He asked me whether I'm sure about it. I told him that if I give 1 year, I will be at a very good footing. He said that, okay, take the plunge. So I think instead of making it a one-off decision, consulting with the family and see, because I cannot discount anybody's financial position. It is matter, and UPSC in itself is a financially costly thing. Staying in Delhi, if someone wants to stay in Delhi and take coaching, it will take 5 lakhs per year. That kind of money is big money for a normal person like me. So we need to take that into consideration, that like what is our future goal, and if that is there, I think it comes down to the person whether he wants to take it or not.
Nishant?
Yes, so I believe, I mean, both Rahul and Shivashish have given a very, very good view on what it is. It's quite finally, I believe it's a personal choice. Of course, if you sit in the placements, you get to know what placements are about, how, and you can get a job and see if it works for you. I think the elimination has worked for Neha. Elimination has worked for me also. I worked for 1 year, but I'll also play the devil's advocate. See, the younger you get into services, the higher you'll reach. So saying, playing the devil's advocate and being very frank about it, if you are very certain this is what you want to do and you think you have it in you, go for it. If you enter services in 22, 21, nothing like it. You'll rise to the topmost level, because in bureaucracy and civil services, your promotions are time bound. You don't get promoted because in private sector and in corporates, what happens is you get promoted according to your competence. In bureaucracy also that happens, but it's a different kind of a competence framework. Here, your postings depend on your competence, but your promotions are time bound. If you get early, you'll rise to the top. That is what I'll play the devil's advocate, and very frankly, this is what I'll say. Please, thank you so much.
Neha, in case you want to add something, or shall we proceed?
Yeah, like my opinion is also, this is a very personal question. My advice is that don't be in any kind of myth that UPSC can only be done if we leave a job. UPSC can only be done if we have that kind of, वो तपस्या वाली जो चीज है कि placement छोड़ के I will do everything. Don't be in any kind of myth of this sort. It's possible from various grounds. It's possible from various angles. It depends on how you visualize yourself, right? Like whether, like as Nishant pointed out, a very practical point, that the earlier you join service, the earlier postings the higher postings you climb higher up the bureaucratic ladder. So if you think that this is an important factor in your life, if this attracts you, then go for full-fledged UPSC preparation from a very young age, right? But if this does not matter to you, maybe you're not concerned with climbing up the ladder, rather you are more interested on the job profile, on diversity, on serving people, and all. Then maybe you can try out the elimination strategy, sit for the placements, take a job, do other things, and then kind of do UPSC in a more motivated way. So first, I think the answer to this lies in know yourself, right? Ask questions to yourself, and you will get the answer. That is me.
Okay, thank you, Neha. Can we move to the next question? Yeah, so this is one question that induces the fear in most of the aspirants. So should we have any backup options, and what are the possible backup options that we can have given our background as an IITian? So what do you think about it? So Rahul?
You just posed a question, I think it was 3-4 questions back, that how much it matters that we have a good CGPA, POR or internships. And I think this question is linked to that one, because if you have a good CGPA and if you have good internships and good POR, you're sure that, okay, you have a complete profile. You, after graduation, if don't sit for placements, the chances of you getting a job will be quite higher if you have not maintained that kind of profile. So backup options are important, but I would say, I personally follow a strategy that backup options are like comfy sofas. If you fall down, you'll fall down on a sofa and you won't work that much hard. I did not have any kind of backup options, but what I did was, I have a good CGPA, and I've always kept my mind open that if nothing works out, see, it's more of a mental preparation, that if nothing works out, I'll go for CAT or GATE. So that is a mind makeup you need to have. You cannot just block out that, okay, UPSC is the end of my life. If I don't clear UPSC, I will end. So if that kind of mind makeup is there, I think that is enough as a backup option. Because at the end of, you are an IITian and you will mostly find a job. There is no dearth of jobs in any sector. You may take time, but you'll find one. That's for sure.
Okay, thank you, Rahul. Neha?
Yes, so actually this question has been more difficult to me even than preparing and clearing and getting a rank. Like this question, it has been so much bothering to me. So what happened to me was that I kept up with I was working at Adobe from July 2018, which I got from a PPO. But then while working also, I felt that I'm preparing for UPSC, I'm working in Adobe, but honestly speaking, I was not satisfied with my job as a software professional, because I did not enjoy software programming right from my college days. I took it up because obviously money was an important factor, honestly speaking, right? But apart from that, I did not find that any X factor. So I found that even if I don't qualify UPSC, then also this software job is not a kind of a backup which I'm looking for. I mean, when we mean by backup, we mean a very straight cut idea that, okay, if not this, then definitely this. So that kind of straight cut compartmentalization was not happening in my life. And you'll be amazed to know that after giving the mains exam, like the difficult part in my journey came after giving the mains exam. After giving the mains exam, I was totally confused that, okay, now I've given one attempt. Now my time is to give a second, third attempt, or maybe to go on with this software job or do something else. But going on with the software job did not appeal to me. So that time I thought that, okay, I will go for some higher studies in electrical engineering from India only. I mean, from IIT or ISC, I will carry on my this electrical engineering project or something. And that was something, I was so obsessed with this backup thing that if not UPSC, I will do this. If not, every day I used to think of these things only. But then ultimately, I even lost track of UPSC. I even lost track of the interview call and everything. And I was into this thing that whether I should leave the job and go for PhD and all these things. So, but then finally interview call came and then I left my job and then I for a very short sprint before the lockdown, I also went to IIT Delhi for a short project. Okay. So my advice to you is that nobody in any profession can be absolutely sure that if this does not happen, this happens. Like all of us, I think, sitting here, we don't know what will happen in the next instance of our lives. So absolute guarantee, absolute surety it's never possible to ensure that. Okay. That is one suggestion. Second suggestion is that yes, do not be so childish to jump into the fire without taking into any practical considerations at all. Like Rahul, I want to emphasize on his point, mental preparation. That is the most important word, mental preparation. Even if you do not qualify UPSC for 4 or 5 years, you must have the strength of mind that, okay, nahi bhi qualify, phir bhi mera kuch nahi bigedega. What will happen? I will do a job in this way. I will do a PhD here. So I will take life as it is. I am ready to take life. I am ready to embrace life that way. To have that kind of matured, please do not waste your precious life on, don't make UPSC your entire make it a part of your life. Make it a part of you. Give as much as possible. But still, luck is also there. We cannot deny that, right? Even if you do 1 mark for all those, it clicks somehow. But then also have that mental preparation, that mental strength. That even if that I am okay, I'm fine. Whatever other people are saying, I won't care, and I will do my best. Like I was sure that if not UPSC, maybe I'll do PhD from India. Maybe my friends, they have already completed 3 years of their PhD, and maybe I would have started now, right, with PhD in India. But still, that was fine to me. Like that kind of mental preparation. So backup option is equivalent to your mental preparation. That's what we're doing.
Okay, thank you, Neha. Shivashish?
I think just 3 small things I'd like to add. First of all, this is a personal question. Because of being the youngest sibling, I never had financial pressures, so I could jump right into it. I could jump right into the exam. And but that might not be the case with everybody who is hearing or everybody who's attempting the exam. So if you feel that practically you should have a backup option, or you should be doing this while doing a job, or you should do a job for 2 years and then you should quit and start doing this, that is entirely up to you. That is a very practical option. Secondly, considering that the audience over here is from IIT KGP, the panelists, all of us, so what I believe is very essential is that being from an IIT, you tend to be your backup option. I mean, since you are from IIT, you will not have a dearth of jobs as far as I can recall. And that will not be a huge challenge for you. So even if you do not have a backup option currently, don't stress out about it. The day you decide to drop this preparation and choose a new path, maybe there will be some days of struggle followed by, of course, eventual success. So that is the second thing. And finally, I think whoever has heard Rahul and Neha, they'll realize that having a backup option is all about having security, right? And the benefit of security will be that you'll have less anxiety during the preparation. You'll have one less thing to worry about, one major thing not to worry about. But what I also believe is that, as we saw, I mean, Neha had a PPO from Adobe, as far as I recall, and there were still moments of panic and there were still moments of anxiety. So it is more of a mental security that you have to bring into your mind. So for instance, it could be possible that in the next attempt, you'll get a very good rank, but you'll not get an IAS and you want to become an IAS. And you'll again approach the next attempt with a lot of anxiety if you don't have the security in your mind. Just try to prepare yourself mentally that the security is there. You are the backup option. There will be less anxiety in that way. So yeah, these are the three things I want to add.
Nishant, in case you want to add something.
Yeah, so I believe everybody has made very pertinent points. There are again, I like to differ a bit with other panelists. See, for me personally speaking, I thought that having a backup option, UPSC gives you 6 attempts. It's 6 years of your career, of the best years of your life. Again, if you have attempted once and you see that okay, I'm not able to qualify the first stage or the second stage, you have to know where you are lacking. So if you believe you can make up in couple of attempts, fair enough. But I will suggest that don't waste too many years in it. Backup option, I'll say, if you want to do something while preparing so that your CV does not look blank, there are a few fellowships. There's LAMP fellowship for Legislative Assistant of Member of Parliament. PRS does it. There's PMRDF, Prime Minister's Rural Development Fellowship. There is Gandhi Fellowship. So these are small fellowships which will keep your CV, occupied, and it will be practically whatever you are doing will be in context of whatever you are preparing for. Again, in job options, there are other examinations also. There's an RBI examination which is quite good, quite reputed. It's a very good job. So again, this is a very practical perspective which I am giving. The last line will be personally depends on you, but again, I'll say one should be very certain about what one wants in his life and what does he want his CV to look like if in case he makes it, if in case he does not make it. So that is what I think. Thank you.
Actually, it's very good to know. I think a lot of audience were not aware about these fellowship things. So thanks for adding the point. Shall we move to the next question?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I think I need to leave the meeting. Thank you for bringing me here. It was nice interacting with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for joining with us.
Thanks a lot, Rahul, for joining us, and we wish you all the best for all your future endeavors. And
thank you, and same to you guys. Same to you, every KGP Janta out there who are listening to us to very eagerly prepare for this UPSC journey, and they can contact me anytime. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Rahul, so much again.
Thank you, Rahul, for joining.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question is it necessary to relocate to Delhi for the preparation? Like, Nishant, if you would like to start from first.
So, it is not necessary. Very, if I reply to it in one line, it's not necessary to relocate. There are different hubs of UPSC preparation. People have top preparing from Hyderabad, from Bangalore, from Delhi, from Mumbai. Again, in Hyderabad and Bangalore, there are good coachings. If you want to take a coaching, even in Delhi, there are good coachings. But with the way exam is changing since last 5-6 years, I have been seeing it closely. The way it is changing, the way online classes are happening, it is not very necessary to relocate, I believe. What relocation benefits are, you'll get a circle where you can prepare and discuss the benefits of relocation. You can be present in the atmosphere where you'll have books and you'll have no dearth of resources. The flip side, again, if you are not relocating, if you are at your own place or at your hometown, you'll have the emotional support, you'll have the mental support of your family, of your parents, which is very important. You can access the resources, you can buy them online. Everything is available online. So it will finally depend on you. If you believe that you need the atmosphere and you can study better being alone in Delhi, come to Delhi, go to Hyderabad, go to Bangalore, what you feel is comfortable to you. There's one thing which I like to point out is, coming to Delhi is a culture shock for a lot of people, not from IITs, I believe, but because in IITs we tend to homogenize. Our culture is so homogeneous and rich that it won't be a problem. But even then, some people face some issues. People mostly from the southern part of India, they will have issues if in case some people don't like the atmosphere, some people cannot adjust to the food. Again, I don't know how pertinent it is to KGPNs, but you should consider all the factors because it's your well-being which is important while you're preparing. So that is all I have to say. Thank you.
And would you like to mention, in fact, how relevant is online preparation these days? Like a lot of platforms are there.
So I believe that I mean, while I was preparing for the first time, I have most of the questions I have dodged. I have spoken in a very general point of in general terms. This question I'd like to. While I was preparing for the first time, I came to Delhi. I prepared. I was full time. I was preparing. In my second attempt, because I was already in the revenue services, I didn't have so much time. I mostly relied on online material and a few weeks and months before the exams, like mostly we do before the end sems and mid sems in KGP. So that is what I was doing, and it worked for me. I don't know. Even I changed my optional. I took anthropology. I didn't take any coaching. It was just the online material. I don't know. It will finally work for whatever you think will work for you. Once you have a hang of how the preparation goes, and if online material is giving you an idea of and an understanding of the issues, I believe you can go with online material. You can even give it a try. You can say try it for maybe 6 months, and if it works for you, it works for you. But with the changing trends, of course, the younger my younger colleagues will be able to tell better. With the changing trends, I believe that online is becoming a very prominent platform for preparation, and it is here to stay. The issue with online is you tend to get distracted. I mean, there are issues where you'll just be surfing web if you are not focused. So that is an issue. So be disciplined, be focused, and you can rely on online material. I don't believe there's any issue. I have done it in the second time I've done it. First time I needed I came to Delhi and I prepared. So personally speaking, that is what I have to add.
Okay.
Devashish, I believe you reallocated to Delhi, isn't it?
No, actually, after graduating, I went to Delhi for 3 months because mathematics test series was conducted only in Delhi then. After that, they made it online. And after that, I went to Bangalore to Insights IAS because I knew the director of the institute there, and he had promised me lofty things. So I believe that was something that I did. But again, it is up to you. If you feel you're determined enough on your own, if you feel you can stick to a deadline, if you can stick to a timetable, if online test series are good enough for you, then stay where you are, stay where you think the challenges will be less. Going to Delhi, going to Bangalore, going away from home, of course, has its sets of challenges regarding fooding, lodging, everything. And sometimes it may also be a culture shock, as was very rightly pointed out. But the benefit of going to Delhi will be, or the benefit of going to a hub, for instance, like Bangalore, will be that I personally study better in a library. I'm very competitive by nature, so if I see others studying more than me, I don't like it. So that keeps me that drives me on, and I think that is common to some degree in all of us. That drives me on, and that helped me study more. That helped me stay more focused. However, there is a downside to it as well. Once you get a friend circle, or once you get a circle of people who are doing the exact same thing, it might be very possible that you fall for, especially in Delhi. In 3 to 4 months in Delhi, I realized this. It is a hub for preparation, but it is also a hub for rumors. Every day I heard that the option is being replaced. Every day I heard that another GS paper is being added. So stay away from all of that. Try to weed out the negatives. Focus only on the positives of the competitive nature, the library, the easy availability of resources, as you said. And yes, as my senior very correctly pointed out, currently this trend of going online, everything is online. So if you feel you are comfortable in your home and you can stick to timetables and stick to a disciplined schedule, then yes, I think the web answers all the questions for you anyway. But here again, a web double-edged sword, just like Delhi. If you tend to get distracted, I personally tend to do that. So I focused more on offline resources, and that is why I had to go to Delhi or to Bangalore. But again, it's a personal choice. Realize the positives and negatives of it and proceed accordingly. Proceed as per your character and personality.
Okay.
Neha?
Yeah.
So, like my straight cut answer to this is no, it is not necessary. If I stress on the word necessary, it is not at all necessary to go to Delhi. Like I was in Noida because of my Adobe job. And I am a kind of person, I usually like to prepare alone. I mean, I like to do things on my own. I mean, when I see many people doing the same thing, I rather get demotivated that okay, so many people are trying, then what is my chance of getting selected? So and rather when I don't see others in my nearby vicinity, when I don't see others in vicinity, I have this, I don't know, this inflated feeling that maybe I'm doing something different from the others. So that kind of boosts and motivates me up. So my motivation was when I was working, when others, they were maybe they were gossiping in the lunchtime and all, but I used to listen to RSTV debates. So these kind of challenges that kept me going, which would not have been possible had I gone to a hub for preparing. So again, it's a very personal question. It depends on how you like see yourself and how comfortable. If you are comfortable in preparing groups, if you want that mental support of people doing preparation along with you, then go to any hub. But that hub also, I think it should be that is it necessary to relocate to any hub rather than Delhi? Because even I think Hyderabad, Bangalore, they are also becoming good. I mean, I'm not absolutely sure on this point, but yes, this Delhi hype of this Delhi shifting, that is, I think, it's subsiding, especially with this online revolution. Like I can vouch for it that everything is available online, and you can clear the exam with completely on relying on online sources also. Like if you're comfortable with it, of course, as pointed out by Shivashish and Nishant.
Okay, thank you, Neha.
Shall we move?
Can we move to the next question? Yeah, so what should be the strategy to choose the optional subject? Because some people tend to advise that we should focus more on our interest rather than the marks, while some suggest that we should focus on the marks. So what parameters should we keep in our mind while choosing the optional subject? Yeah, so Shivashish or Neha.
Okay, so this is also a combination of various factors. One is, of course, your interest. I mean, whether you like reading that subject or not. But here also many childish things come up. Like if you say that I like studying about human evolution, so I choose anthropology. This is a very childish influence. Similarly, I like studying about society, so I study sociology. So what you can do is that you can actually, if you look into the list of the subjects provided by UPSC, you will find there are 4 types of optional subjects in the method. One is the humanities category, which is sociology, anthropology, all this. Another is the technical science, technical subjects like engineering, law. These are the technical areas. Another one is the science subjects like botany, zoology, physics, chemistry, all this. And last is the literature. So first, we decide on which group of optional interests. That will be purely on the basis of maybe. Secondly, another factor that you should consider is, I think, the prior exposure. Because if you have a prior exposure, you have studied that in college or you have enjoyed that subject in your +2, right? Then I think it leaves a lot of bandwidth for your GS preparation. So you can do that. That is prior exposure. Then third point is the material availability. If it is a popular option, like let's say anthropology, sociology, there are a lot of online resources, test series are available. Then everything is available equally. So you don't have to waste time running after sources. That is one. And finally, another important point is that your alternative career options. Like you know that this exam is very uncertain. So sometimes if you choose an optional subject which can be utilized in ways other than UPSC also, you can strategize that backup option, you can do that. Like for me, I chose electrical engineering because I would have maybe adjusted engineering classes you can also choose this option. So have a communication put adequate weightages to all these parameters and choose it. I think that should be the strategy.
Okay, thank you, Neha. Shivashish, would you like to add any point?
Yeah, I think in this my answer will be a bit different. Again, this is again person to person. However, what I feel is, I mean, what all the 3 stages of the exam have taught me is that you need to remove the emotions from the exam. It is a very mechanical exam. There are, you have to be very mechanical and very practical about everything. So for optional, my first advice to you would be the availability of resources and the conversion ratio as well. There are some optionals which you see are not doing very well. So to jump into that ship will not be a good idea. So be practical in your approach. Look at the conversion ratio. You can look it up online. You will find a chart. I had seen the chart a few days ago itself. So that could be something. Secondly, interest. I think I feel that again, something will be interesting the first time you read it, but as it is in the case in the optional, it won't be interesting the 15th time you'll read it, and you'll have to read it the 15th time for the optional. So interest, even if you're not very interested in it, but if it is giving you a good edge, if you have good availability of resources, if you have people you know who have cleared the exam with that optional and who have done well in lesser attempts with that optional, I think that is something that you should go for. And finally, what I feel is like, if you look at Neha, and if you look at me, we cleared the exam within 2 years of graduation. And I think a huge part of it was because she pursued her degree as an optional, and I pursued my degree as an optional. I was in the mathematics department and I took maths as an optional. And I believe she was in the electrical department and she took up electrical as an optional. So that is something that does give you a lot of advantage. The bandwidth it provides for GS, as was already pointed out, it is immense, because GS, the paper will be the same for everyone. If you can give more time to it, if you can give more, put in more practice into it and more thought into it, you do better than the others, and that is a straightforward advantage. So yes, look at the conversion ratio, look at the data. As I think Kharagpur is obsessed with data analysis, so I think this is a good way to put it to use. Secondly, interest, I think it is a bit hyped. Nothing will be interesting the 5th or 6th time you will be reading it, which you will have to. And thirdly, if there is a chance that you are good in your graduation subject, if you're not even good, if you're decent in your graduation subject, just go for it. I mean, this infatuation which I mostly see with, for instance, political science and international relationships, political and international relations as an example, there are people in JNU and in DU who are studying this subject for the past 3 years. To get up to speed with those people, that will require a whole lot of effort. So it would be better, it would be the best case scenario would be to stick to your option, to stick to your graduation subject, take it as your optional. If you can pull that through, I think the time required for getting a rank, it decreases dramatically. I mean, I've seen it in the past, and even in this webinar we can see it very clearly. So yeah, that is something I'll focus on.
Okay, thank you, Shivashish. Nishant, since you had experienced different options, so would you like to add anything?
I mean, very, very good points made by both Neha and Shivashish. So my first time, I mean, I started preparing 15 attempt I got through with public administration. So initially I didn't have any idea of what optionals are. The broad construct of choosing an optional is two things which you should look at. I mean, that was the idea then. That's the idea now also. You should look at the syllabus. What is the syllabus? How vast is it? And you should look at past year papers, as in what kind of questions are coming in. The things that you should be wary about is key. Of course, I believe there's a certain degree of interest that is required. Although, I mean, maybe Shivashish differs because I have qualified once with public administration. I changed my optional. I appeared again with anthropology after 2-3 years because I found that public administration did not interest me again. So I was like, "ठीक है, मतलब once I've given from public administration, let me try it from a different." Another thing is conversion ratio, as Ashish has pointed out. Public administration has not been giving very good results in past years also. So yes, I mean there is a requirement of optional. Very frankly, if I compare it with something in our practical life, it's like a marriage. So and the attributes that you expect out of your partner, it should be similar. It should not bore you. I believe it should be predictable, and you should have a good ROI. I mean, the amount of time you invest in your optional should give you marks, well enough marks. Again, the optional should be if you are very abreast with GS and you like the reading newspapers, you can take political science, you can take public administration, which will help you because they're very dynamic. You can include if you're good at diagrams, if you're good at making flowchart, you can take anthropology, you can take geography. I'm talking about the humanities subjects, because I was not very good at my core field, so to say. I was not very confident that I'll be able to do well with my core area. So I took these optionals, and first, of course, I don't know, marks are not out as yet, but I believe anthropology has fared me well. So yeah, it will finally depend on what interests you. If look at the syllabus, look at the question papers, see how it is converting, see how predictable it is, see what is the ROI that you're getting over it, and I believe that's it. But do attempt the question papers. So I do go through the question papers and do look at what the toppers have been doing in those options. That's very helpful.
Okay, so I had this follow-up question. So should we choose the optional subject right from the beginning, or should we just start preparing first and then we can choose in between?
Is this question for me?
Yeah.
So I believe that, see, the whole process of UPSC is a marathon. It's like a very, very long race, and it will start 2 years before you actually make it. So choosing your optional is very important. I believe even before you have appeared for your prelims, you should have a good grip on your optional, because Neha and Shivashish took their core subject. They already had a fair idea of what it was. For me, I didn't have it. So I took an optional, I read it, and then I realized कि ठीक है, fair enough, समझ में आ गया मुझे. Now I'll wait, I'll prepare for prelims, then I'll again pick it up after my prelims if I clear prelims. So that is what I have been doing. You should choose an optional before you start preparing, but dabble into optionals. Don't go by emotions, as Shivashi said. Don't say कि ठीक है, I'm very good with maths, so I'll just take geography. Maybe you're good with graphics. Maybe you'll do better in anthropology. Science, linked subjects, anthropology, geography are good for engineers. That has been the traditional knowledge, but I am not sure. Works for few people. Few people have made it to geography. Economics again is a very good optional. Political science is a very good optional. Economics, Gaurav Agarwal is taught from economics, of course, if I'm correct. And so yes, I mean, if you're interested in economics, take economics. If you're interested in graphics, you think geography is not doing that well, anthropology is a better conversion ratio, you can take anthropology. If you're interested in history, take history. So if you're interested in dynamics, take political science and public administration. You're optional, but you have to be very sure of what you're choosing. Your optional will make and break you. It will make your rank, or it'll sweep you out of the race. So be very sure and very confident in whatever subject you're opting for. That is what it is.
Okay. Thank you, Nishant. Can we move to the next question?
Yeah. Like what should be avoided while preparing? This is a very common question we ask. Like, so that starting from Neha, like you did it in the first attempt itself. So like, what do's and don'ts would you recommend? Like for the timing, we should focus on don'ts while preparing.
I think we have mostly the questions that you have asked before. It is answered partly by those only. So my thing is that do not fall into myths that I have to do this in order to get into civil services. No, identify yourself, identify your constraints, and mold the preparation strategy as per your situation. That is one thing. Second thing is that the mistakes to avoid is almost everybody has said this, that being a PDF collector, being a hunter of resources, that doing so many things without revising. That is one. Secondly, many of us, like I also feel I have done that up to some extent, that we do not take the previous year questions and the trend analysis seriously. I think a lot of mysteries get resolved once we put our head into analyzing the previous year questions, be it prelims or be it mains, so that we can understand that what exactly UPSC wants out of it. And then finally, they don't keep any myths that the UPSC will happen only if this falls into place. Be confident, have faith on yourself, have that mental balance, that it's fine. Like just go enjoy the process. I think most important mistake is to take that as a burden and I want to give an exam and clear it. Just enjoy the process, enjoy studying, enjoy knowing about different things, because like no other preparation of exam will give you such a comprehensive view of everything going on around you. And you will be studying right from the Green Revolution to how does SpaceX send its space missions, right? So such diversity, I think that should infuse a kind of curiosity in you. Have that curiosity, and I think things will follow.
Okay, thank you, Neha. Nishant, would you like to throw a light on this?
So possible mistakes to avoid in order to minimize the attempts. So, I mean, first time I qualified, again, it was in initial attempt, and then of course, to minimize the attempts, I believe, see, there are very broad things that one can do. One does not have to do PhD in everything one is reading. Number one, which I believe is important, because some people tend to, we are all very particular and detailed in our approach, being big technocrats. So we need a good idea of what it is, but one should not just be doing a PhD in a particular topic. You have to have a fair idea of everything. You should have diversity of topics. Number one, I believe is very important to minimize attempts. Number two, you should be very sure of your optional, as I have put in the previous question, because it's a marathon, as I have told earlier also, and you have to be very sure that even before you begin your preparation, you should have a mental construct of how you are planning to go about in the interview stage, and how you'll think about the whole thing, because it's not just about prelims. You should not cram a fact and think that okay, इस बार prelims कर ले, prelims का preparation करेंगे, prelims के बाद mains का सोचेंगे. That approach, I think, is what makes increases the number of attempts. Secondly, I believe, very frankly speaking, UPSC has a very, very high quotient of both hard work and luck. It's 100% hard work and 100% luck. So again, I just wish and hope that everybody makes it through in their initial attempts. But if it does not work out, everybody has a different story. So don't fret over it. Don't fret over it. I think it'll work out when it's meant to. And the broad strokes of the whole idea is that be particular about what you're aiming at, and how you're about the whole process, rather than compartmentalizing it. Number one. Number two, doing PhD on a particular subject. I've seen people who do a lot of research on one topic and then leave different. But you have to approach the whole paper or the whole syllabus in a very pragmatic way. That's what I'll say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nishant. Shivashish?
So I think it was very rightly mentioned by Nishant about the PhD thing. That is something I have in mind. I think that is one of the best advice that you can give to an aspirant. Basically, the UPSC looks for generalists, because the diversity is so much that you can't have a specialist in everything. And even if you have 15 PDFs on, suppose, RTI, right to information, but you have to sum it up in 150 words or 250 words. So there is no point in going for 10 PDFs on every topic, being an expert on every topic. In fact, that will in fact harm your chances, because time is limited. You will have to give up on a few topics. You will have to leave a few topics, and that might be detrimental. Rather than go for the general approach, have a general idea about everything. Again, vague and brief are two different words. You don't have to be vague, you have to be brief. That is important, right? So don't be vague, as in just a broad idea is not good enough. Go into some depth, but not a PhD, as was very rightly pointed out. Secondly, one possible mistake that many people do is they don't focus enough on answer writing, and eventually that is all that matters. I think 1750 marks is for mains and 275 marks is for interview. So you see, the bulk is for answer writing. Don't take answer writing lightly. Once you feel you are decent enough with the knowledge part, go for the answer writing, because that is eventually something that is going to help you. Thirdly, just don't take tests lightly. Don't take tests when there is a tendency to take tests when you don't want to study. That is not the right approach. Take every test as if it is the final test, as if you're giving your all throughout the paper, because that brings in a habit of giving your best, and that is something that you have to do consistently in UPSC, particularly in mains. And finally, the test is not everything. The scores are not everything. You can give a test in which, for instance, a prelims test in which you score 99 questions of your 100 are correct and one is incorrect, and you don't look for the answer of the one question and it will come in the exam. So that entire test was worthless. So analyze the paper well, be it prelims, be it mains, or even the feedback from the mock interviews. So yeah, that is my sequential approach. Be a generalist in your preparation. Be brief, not vague, of course. And take as many tests as possible and take them seriously. And once you're done with the test, analyze it with all seriousness, because that is what is going to have a bearing on your eventual rank. So yeah, these are the possible mistakes I feel you should minimize.
Okay. Thank you, Shivashish. Can I move to the next question, Anushka? Yeah, so I guess that has already been covered more or less in the previous answer.
Nishant, in case if you want to add anything, because you have been in the services for the past 2-3 years. So
yeah.
Okay. So every career is a long-term, lifelong decision. It will shape on how your life will be. So there are benefits, there are opportunities, there are challenges in both corporate and external services. The challenges differ. the opportunities differ, and the results also differ. So, I mean, if you are first, I'll go with corporate because civil services I know, so I'll tell you eventually. In corporate, what you're doing is you're creating jobs, you're adding value, and then your skill sets, they get enhanced eventually, and you'll move up as your skills increase in civil service. And then what the bearing you have is on the market, and the market is what bears on the society eventually. If I don't know if I'm making sense, but if you have a career in corporate, it's a different set of problems, choices, it's a different lifestyle that you're choosing. If you're having a career in civil services, you are impacting the society, number one. So you have to be, I mean, and the challenges are different. You'll have crunch of resources, the setup is hierarchical, you'll be promoted as and when your time comes. But again, the kind of opportunities and the position that you'll get as a civil servant are unparalleled. Be it any service, you have various avenues. You have deputations, you can move to different departments, you can work on a core field, you can go out and come back. You can even be associated with your training institutes. You can take a degree, you can get because see, for a lot of people, I have realized that the break for earning an extra degree is also, so there's a provision for study leave in civil services, which you can take, and government will fund it if it's relevant to what you're doing. So there are various opportunities in both civil services and in corporate career. There are different in civil services, of course, the remuneration is your salary, which compared to a corporate career might, if money is a very important fact for you, it's a very important thing for you, then it might not be as lucrative in civil services. But the satisfaction that you'll get out of holding positions which are actually making an impact on the society, number one, and number two, in which you are actually serving people. The word is civil services, and if you compare it with your corporate career, so the services part is important here and the career part is important here. So in civil services, you're serving, it's your career, of course. In your career, you're doing a career, and ancillary, maybe you'll be serving, maybe you'll become a philanthropist, maybe you'll become an Azim Premji or a Nandan Nilekani. Whatever you're doing, do it with all your best effort and intent and excel in it. And I believe we KGPians always excel at whatever we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant. Anybody else you would like to add?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Prakhar, can you please ask few questions which we received from the audience?
Yeah. So we have received a large number of questions from the audience, about more than 200 questions. So unfortunately, we won't be able to cover each and every of them. But I would like to ask you, we have received a question. How important is newspaper reading, and which newspaper should we read for the UPSC preparation? Neha?
Yeah. So this is again, many people say The Hindu, but I have read the Indian Express as well, and it is equally good. This again depends on you. There is no bias as such, but yes, newspaper reading is important in my opinion. Anyway, you have access to those Vision IS current affair PDF, but if you directly rely on them, then your analysis bent of mind does not develop. So initial stages, you must focus on newspaper, and before prelims and all, you can revise it with your PDFs.
Okay. Thank you, Neha. Shivashish or Nishant, would you like to add anything, or we can move to the next question?
Yeah, I'd just like to add one small thing. That is, as again, this is I think it is a very personal observation of mine. But what I realized was I followed the Hindu till my mains. But for my interview, I switched to Indian Express or to Times of India because unfortunately, or however you take it, the Hindu is at times extremely critical about the government, and that is something you want to avoid in your interviews. This is a very practical thing. For instance, if you are trying to get a job at Deutsche Bank, in your interview you will not be criticizing Deutsche Bank, right? I mean, that is not the smart thing to do. So what I believe is, even if you are reading for the interview stage particularly, I feel you need to avoid extreme criticism of the government. because else in the interview, the interview is a very let's say it is a high pressure situation in which the real you comes out. So if you have any biases against the government, any deep seated biases against the government, I don't think that is very well looked upon. So yeah, that is just one small tidbit I'd like to add for the interview process. Avoid anything extremely critical of the government. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, Shivashi.
Can we move to the next
I
question?
actually have another thing coming up, so can I just leave this and would like to
Yeah.
have another engagement here. So yeah, it was my pleasure interacting with all of you, and my best wishes to all the KGPMs ahead. UPSC is not the only thing, the only great thing that we expect any KGPM to do. So there are many great things awaiting you. Explore them and do them. But my honest, when I used to be preparing, I always used to think of this picture that after clearing, if I'm lucky enough to clear the exam, I'll go to my college and I'll meet with my alumni. But anyway, that is not possible due to COVID. But but I would have loved to come to KGP and address students there. But anyway, so my advice is that firstly, know yourself, know your true interest. During my time also, a lot of seniors used to tell me that find your interest. I never took that thing seriously, but now I know what it means to discover your interest. So discover your interest, and once you set apart in that, be it in entrepreneurship, be it in technology societies, right, in developing technology, be it in research, be it in finance or in social work, NGOs, anything, just have that X factor motivating you throughout. That this is what you want to do. That why should be clear in any career you want, and that is applicable to civil services as well. And my best wishes and just to do awesome things in life, right? So I take my thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, Neha, for
Thank you so
joining
much,
us.
Neha. Yeah,
And best wishes for the future.
Bye.
our inter-KGP fraternity as well as community. Yeah. So since we are
I think there
already,
are 2 or 3 questions left, so can we wrap it up as soon?
yeah, I guess we can have one more question since we are already beyond the time limit. Yeah, so another question that people were asking was about the writing skills. So how did you try to improve your writing skills, and what was the possible strategy for that? So,
And adding to what Prakhar asked, what do UPSC look for in an answer? Whether they look for the clarity of thoughts, or do they expect you to be like Shakespeare or writing answers? What is important? Is it necessary to write everything in paragraph or can we use some framework for writing the answers?
Yeah, so Shivashish, you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I wanted to answer, but so I think again this answer writing is extremely important, and that takes a lot of practice. So my advice would be to try to build the idea. There is a secure initiative online of Insights, I think, where they post daily questions. Writing 3 or 4 daily questions once you are satisfied, decently satisfied with your level of preparation, would be a good idea. As to the point what UPSC looks for in an answer, again, once the marks will be out, I think post 7 September, I'll be able to give a better idea. But my gut feeling says that it is how you are hitting the question rather than whether you are a Shakespeare or whether you are a PhD in the topic. If you're able to hit and address every part of the question, if you're able to understand the question. So for instance, if the question is talking about primary education and your answer entirely deals with all of education, that is not a great idea. Focus on the question, identify the keywords and write on the keywords. One very good tip that I got and something that I practiced very well is the best answer will be the answer after reading which you will be able to predict the question. That is something that you should go for. It should be an answer which once you read, you will be able to predict what the question was. If you're able to do that, then your answer is hitting the nail on the head and your answer is good enough for UPSC. I mean, it is good enough for AIR 108 for sure. So that is something. And no, of course, UPSC does not look for a Shakespeare. UPSC does not look for a Wordsworth, nothing. Your language needs to be decent. It does not have to be good. It just has to be decent. Grammatical errors should be avoided. And eventually the content and the way you hit the question is what is important, rather than how beautifully you write it, or how what the big and colorful words that you're using. So yeah, just focus on that, hit the question, work on your content, and structure and present the answer decently. If your handwriting is bad, work on it. I mean, my handwriting was pathetic, and I used to write on these 4-line cursive writing copies just to improve my handwriting, because eventually that is what matters. There is a bias even in the examiner. If you make the job easier for him, he'll give you higher marks. So I think that is, of course, once the marks will be out, I'll be able to answer this question better.
Nishant, your views on the same?
Yeah. So, of course, I think Shivashish has very clearly and rightly pointed out, if you're a Shakespeare, you can write a Hamlet, and I believe you'll be much more famous than any other civil servant. If talking about how, see, in your mains is 1750 marks, as has already been pointed out, and the only thing that will represent you is your answer, right? Examiner will not know that you are from an IIT or from which college. Is this optional? If you have been born with this optional, or you have just taken it out of thin air. No, examiner will not be aware of it. So you have to present yourself in a way that you're answering questions. This is the first point, that you have to realize the fact that you are represented by your answers. Number one. Number two, I believe, is that, see, making the task of the examiner easy is again a very good point which is pointed out by Shivashish. And if you look at the way UPSC questions are structured, there are different words in the end. It will be please explain, please elucidate, analyze, critically comment. So you have to know what qualifier is associated with the question. You have to answer that. You don't have to beat around the bush. You have to be very specific. There was also a question about if you have to write in paragraphs or in bullet points. See, if a question is such which requires you to write in bullet points, write it in bullet points. If a question is such which requires you to present ideas which require multiple points, write it in paragraph form. There's no hard and fast rule. If you make your answers graphic, if you include flowcharts, diagrams, nothing like it, because it shows the examiner that this person has read, he knows the matter, he has a good understanding of it, and it makes his job easier, and then therefore I believe it will fetch you higher marks. And I mean, see, whatever I'm saying is what I've read and what I've experienced both. So I believe this is it from my side. Thank you.
Prakhar, I believe we do not have any questions, and we are also running out of time. So Shivashish and Nishant, like, one final advice for KGPNs, like not just related to UPSC, but in a whole general scenario.
Should I go first? Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
My only advice will be to, I know there is this hype about UPSC, and since webinars are being conducted, there might be some pressure to prepare for this exam as early as possible and as much as possible. But being in Kharagpur was a dream, and making the best of the dream is what you should do now. That is what should be the first thing at hand. And secondly, I'd also like to point out, and I think Nishant will agree with me on this, and I think Neha would, and everyone else would, that 20 days ago, none of us visualized this. I mean, 20 days ago, this was also a dream for us, that we'd be invited after getting ranks. So self-doubt is very natural in such a huge and in such a hyped and in such an unpredictable exam. UPSC is also often called Unpredictable Service Commission. So none of us knew that we'd get through, that is for sure. So if you are having your doubts now, if you're having lack of the self-faith, it is natural. It happens with every one of us. It happens with the best of us. So don't fret about that. You're in a premier institute. You have done very well in life up till now. Have faith in yourself, and be it UPSC, be it entrepreneurship, take the risk, take the leap of faith, because again, you are your own backup. Just keep working hard in that, and realize that whatever is your dream right now, it is not the be all and end all of it. As far as I know, Satya Nadella, the Microsoft CEO, even he tried to crack UPSC. He could not get through, but I think he was extremely fortunate not to get through. So there are people like these. In fact, I think the Honorable President of India has also attempted this examination. And you see, this is not the be all and end all of life. If you're not getting through in the dream that you're pursuing currently, maybe God has planned something better for you. So yeah, that is it. Have faith in yourself. If there are self-doubts, that happens with every one of us. That happens with the best of us, as I said. And yes, just keep making the best of the opportunities that this amazing institute presents to you. And yeah, as we know, Kharagpur ka tempo to high ही रहता है. So yeah, just keep working on that.
Nishant, would you like to add something?
Yeah, so I mean, final advice to all the KGPNs, I would say, again, as Shivashish and everybody has pointed out, you're living a dream right now. So live well through it, and again, see, there's no finality, or you'll never, whatever you do, whatever you choose to do in life, be it UPSC, be it your corporate career, be it research, do it with 100% of your motivation, 100% of your interest, and again, give it your best shot. And if it does not materialize, peace hai, matlab, seriously, nothing. Life is too big, and things are very things come and go. So you have to be very clear about what you want in life. KGPNs are always, I mean, our motto is Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. So I'm sure we'll all be we all believe in putting in everything in whatever we do, right? From I mean, whatever we do, we put our everything. So I believe every KGPN should just follow whatever your heart says, and give it your best shot. My good wishes to everybody who is planning to appear. If there's anything I can reach out with, you are free to reach out. Of course, I believe all the panelists are very open, and they'll all be very appreciative of your questions. So, and never, again, self-doubt will come, as Shivashish has said, but finally have some faith, and things will work out finally well for all of you. My best wishes, my good wishes to all of you. Hope all of you stay safe during COVID times, and please take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant. Yeah, I would like to conclude it with a final note. So thank you so much to all the panelists, although some of them have left due to some reasons. But thank you, Shivashish and Nishant, for joining us and taking out the time for this. This session must be really inspiring as well as motivating for all the UPSC aspirants in the KGP. It was a really nice discussion with you all. And we wish you best of luck for the entire KGP fraternity as well as community IIT Kharagpur. Thank you so much.
All the best to everyone. Thank you so much for your time and patience. Take care.